WIIFTBP.
Since 2018, nearly 3,000 tax credit scholarships have been awarded to Black students in Illinois to attend private schools that best fit their needs. Now, Governor Pritzker wants to slash this program. In a time of much uncertainty, we need greater equity in education for our families and children, not less. Call your state representative and senator and urge them to stand up for our kids and their future by supporting the Tax Credit Scholarship Program. For more information, visit empoweredillinois.org.
What's up, good people? If you didn't tune in to the last I Said What I Said, here's what you missed. This legendary journalist, man, his list of accomplishments goes on and on. He's an author, a brother. He is someone that, for me, I've looked up to literally since I was about 11 or 12 years old. And this was really before I knew his name. I mean, I knew what Slam Magazine was. That's kind of what you did as a shorty. But I didn't even know that he wrote for it, right? And I had read plenty of his articles, but I didn't know that the dude who I saw every morning on my way to school was Scoop Jackson. Eastside crazy, man. So in growing up over there where I grew up, there wasn't a whole lot of positive male representation. I would walk down the block past his house every morning. I would see him coming out of his driveway, right? He had this coldest truck, black Pathfinder, if I recall. I would see him, and he would always just take a couple minutes to chop it up, and it would just be me or, a couple of my guys just walking to school. And again, over there wasn't a whole lot of representation of positive black males. I don't know that you were aware of the difference that you were making on us at the time.
I don't want to say I don't believe in the concept of giving back. I feel if you give back, that means that you left. So my whole purpose in never leaving the same neighborhood I came up in is that I never gave back. You just give. I would hope that I would have impact on what your everyday lives were. I could be the one dude in the neighborhood that stopped and spoke to you, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
Because young individuals in black neighborhoods, especially young men, get ignored very quickly.
All the time.
They get dismissed. Right. They get minimized. And the one thing, I still do it to this day. Say what's up to everybody, especially young brothers, because we have a tendency not to acknowledge one another. And I've never lived that life. My hope was that, us having the small time and me just being there and you all, just developing a relationship with me and me developing a relationship with you would have at least a small impact on you. It would give you like, all right, there's some decent people around me. There's something I can look forward to maybe. If I don't have anybody else in this neighborhood that I can talk to that can identify with me,
right, I
can ring Scoop's doorbell. You got a good memory. It was a black Pathfinder too. You good.
Coldest truck I had seen. I was like, yo, that's raw. Cuz balling. I said what I said. Urban 2, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Since 2018, nearly 3,000 tax credit scholarships have been awarded to Black students in Illinois to attend private schools that best fit their needs. Now, Governor Pritzker wants to slash this program. In a time of much uncertainty, we need greater equity in education for our families and children, not less. Call your state representative and senator and urge them to stand up for our kids and their future by supporting the Tax Credit Scholarship Program. For more information, visit empoweredillinois.org.
We all remember our life before COVID-19. The parades, the lakefront barbecues, taste of Chicago, the happy hours, and most importantly, loving those unforgettable moments with our friends and families. Getting Chicago vaccinated is what will make the activities we miss safe for everyone. So let's get back to it, Chicago. Let's come together to end this pandemic. Find your vaccine at chi.gov/COVIDvax.
WIIFTBP.
Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly what he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Werner.
That's about one of the nicest things you ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
why we shine wherever we go. 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 Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what the cop said. I'm living a legacy. So even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead. Fuck with me.
Great afternoon to you, wonderful people. Welcome to this Monday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from inside the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Howard. Each and every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. we get together right here with you all and we discuss issues that are currently impacting the black community, how those issues impact us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through many of these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, we want to overcome them as individuals, but perhaps more importantly, we want to overcome them as a collective. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the show. We would kindly request you please take a quick second to share the broadcast, share it on your personal page, share it even within your personal network with absolutely anyone that you think would find value in this conversation or add value to this conversation, because we believe that the more like-minded individuals we can get to be a part of this conversation, the better the opportunities we have of reaching those aforementioned solutions. So please, if you would be so kind, take a quick second to share the broadcast. Again, this is I Said What I Said. It is Intellectual Thuggery at its absolute finest. My name is Herb. His name is Two. What's happening, good brother?
What's up, family? I'm good. Blessed and highly favored. How are you?
Regular stuff here on a Monday, on a Monday morning / afternoon / whatever time it is. But I'm doing good. I ain't got nothing to complain about. I'm happy to be here, hanging out with you, hanging out with the IsWiz fam. Reese the Ruler is in the production studio. Joseph, what's good, my brother?
I think it's called when I'm straight in the perm. Is it
straight in the perm?
Straight in the perm. That's how I go. I'm good, man. How was your weekend, man?
If I can remember, I'll tell you. Give me a few minutes. I'll try to figure it out. I think it was decent.
How was your mom's? Everybody was good?
Yeah. Shout out to my uncle. Every year he does a Mother's Day brunch. And so went to his crib, did the Mother's Day brunch. That was pretty cool. That was Saturday afternoon. Did that. That was cool. Yeah, actually yesterday I didn't do too much of nothing. I was cooling. How was your Mother's Day, man? Happy Mother's Day to your lady, to your moms as well.
They had me barbecue for them, so I barbecued them some steak, corn, potatoes, and then I made some macaroni and cheese from scratch.
You made the macaroni and cheese from scratch?
From scratch. I should have brought you some, but you didn't.
No, you shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did it though. You know what I mean?
No, I'm good.
It's decent?
I can cook, for sure. I can cook.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for it. I believe you.
And then, and that was it. I chilled and I had watched some little basketball.
Okay. All right. Reese in the kitchen getting down. See, I can do my thing on the grill. You know what I'm saying? On the grill, I can handle business. But in the kitchen, that ain't really my area. I can do a few things, but the kitchen ain't really my thing. But leave me out to my devices on the grill, I'm going to have me a great whole afternoon out there. I'm nice on the grill, but the pots and the pans, that's somebody else's world. But I'm down to see what's up with this mac and cheese, though. That's my favorite.
Man, I should have bought you some. I'm trying to tell you, it was cheese all through it, man. I'm telling you, I can cook. And next time, I'm going to bring you some. I can really cook for real.
Say less. We get together and do something together there, man. We can get some things done. Two, you trying to hop in this real man cook situation?
You could be our taste tester, all right?
No, I'm on my animal free shit, so
So you ain't doing milk neither?
No, I have been. That's one of the things I got to stop, though. But since I stopped trying to cut down on the meat, well, not even cut down, I really haven't eaten it. But I've been having this craving for, like, sugar.
Yeah.
And at night, I used to be heavy in the coffee. But I can't do the coffee no more, so I've been making like hot chocolate, and I need to stop doing that. But I done that a few times.
Okay,
but it's just the sugar of it that I need.
You need we addicts. We all are.
It's sugar. It's sugar. It's killing me, but it is what it is.
Keep it plant based. Sadiq says, "We hear you. We hear you. We hear you, and we appreciate you for real. For real. keeping us ever mindful of the things that we put into our body and the impacts that it has on all of us. Too, you've been on it, man. Since beginning of April, and we started the year off with some stuff too. But you, I'm seeing you slimming down a little bit. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, we usually be like the last people to notice, unless you intentionally stepping on the scale every day or something like that. But
yeah, but I don't even give a shit about that no more. I ain't gonna lie to you. What it is though is my hip don't hurt, so that's what it is.
Yeah, that's the best consequence or result of it. But remember, we was just talking about trying to look decent. Mm-hmm. So that's still where I'm at. With
you still young enough to believe in that shit.
Believe in what?
That it's just vanity. I get it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's a different level.
This nigga didn't grow up in 2 weeks. We was just talking about
this. I agree with you. But that's not what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that the level of discipline thus far on this go round ain't about vanity. It's about that shit was hurting to get out of bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a different kind of thing. So
now Sadiq said that it would stop the pain.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't make a whole lot of sense when he said it. But
it made sense to me, and after you experience it, like it didn't take long at all. Remember, so when this first started happening, well, not when it first started happening, but when I realized it was like a hip replacement, they gave me that steroid shot, and I was telling you, like, man, when I got it, like, it said it take 2 weeks to kick in.
Right.
It kicked in maybe in like 3 or 4 days, but it's supposed to last like 6 to 8 months. That thing didn't last 6 weeks. It didn't last 3 weeks. So, when you start thinking about that.
But changing your diet worked immediately. and has sustained.
And sustained. So, I'm straight. And that needle in your joint, I'm cool.
Yeah, I just don't, like, the whole idea of, like, people just playing in your body, it's just weird to me. Like, I don't want the needles, the surgeries, and all of that. Like, there's another way for me to do it, and I can change it literally with my fork. Then I can just change it with my fork. You know what I'm saying? Deion Cole, shout out to Deion Cole, who's one of my favorite comedians. He from the crib. He said in one of his specials, he was like, man, listen, stop eating that shit. Talking about eating the fat food and all that. Because Deion Cole used to be big as hell. And like he's gotten himself into pretty good shape as well. And he's like, man, stop eating that shit. Like, I know it's delicious. You know what it tastes like. You've been eating it your life. Stop eating that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's delicious. We got it. Stop eating it though. And so again, man, shout out to Brother Sadiq for imparting all of his experience and wisdom on us. He's been plant-based for a quarter century or more, and he hasn't had an illness to speak of ever since. Not so much as the flu or anything else. And so shout out to Sadiq for taking it as serious as he does, but also using not only just like let me just be healthy, but like let me try to use my story and my information to try to make my whole entire community healthy. And so slowly but surely, he bringing us along, and he's patient with us. I know we be getting on his nerve, like, didn't I tell your stupid ass not to eat that? But he's patient.
I've been pumping them heavy out here though, man.
Man, that's what's up. That's definitely what's up, because it has worked. It has worked. I've been trying to get back to it here of late. I definitely fell off the whole wagon for a month. I went on a whole month binge. You know what I'm saying? You know how like your people run into some money and they got a substance abuse problem, then you don't see them for a month, and then they come back looking all kind of toe down. Like, yo.
That's you Negroes who think your birthday is a whole month long
it is
extravaganza.
No, it is.
You know what I mean?
It is. Be clear about that. Birthday is a monthly thing. So it's a month long celebration.
Okay, well, bless your heart.
Bless my heart, you know. It's difficult for me to stay on the wagon during that time. But I'm hopping back on it, man. Speaking of birthday celebration, shout out one more time. Happy birthday to Dawn Millhouse. Hung out with her again on Friday at the skate and bowl situation. That was fun.
Yeah, they was talking about it earlier. I think Eric was up there at that skating rink that night for some reason.
Yeah, maybe we was on two sides. He might have slid in. It was definitely people in there. He might have slid in there. We was on two sides. We were skating and bowling. Well, let me stop capping. They were skating. I was bowling. I ain't really a skater. Reese, you can skate?
Oh, you know what? I can't four wheel. I only rollerblade. I can't four wheel.
That's the most backward shit I ever heard in my life.
Like I can, like I won't fall, but I can't like move how I want to move.
Yeah, you ain't smooth on the skates like
since
that.
9, so that's all I have. Like I never really had a pair of skates except them little shits in the 90s when they used to be like, like yellow with the buckle.
Right.
You can't skate either?
I cannot fall.
You know what? I watched Gilly and
it's like swimming. I cannot drown, but
Gilly and Wallow's podcast often.
Yeah.
Right? And there's always, this competition between them two, but they also like, you'll see them at the court, you'll see them at the boxing gym, you'll see them doing all this other stuff. And they like jack of all trades, master of none. They can do all that a little bit. I could box a little bit, I could hoop good enough, I could compete at all these levels. And they was talking to one of the young boys, and they was like, man, Gil, I really respected how you could do kind of everything. You know what I mean? I thought about that, and just listening to y'all speak, like life is doing y'all a disservice, G. It really is, and it's,
in what way?
In a lot of ways, like the reason Gilly can do those things, because that was like how all of us grew up. We explored all them things. It was like accessible in all our communities. You know what I mean? Like skating was, you did that. It was part of it. You know what I mean? Hooping was part of it. Boxing was part. All that stuff was just like part of it. Riding your bike, it was part of it. And you think about today, and I'm sure it happened in y'all's generation too, and I'm sure it happened in our generation too, in comparison to the generation before.
Sure.
But like today, when you ride through the communities, you don't see little kids on bikes.
Nah, you barely
They
see
don't
little
even
kids
know
outside.
how to ride bikes at this point. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting for me to think about how much stuff y'all miss out on because of the way the culture moves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to hear somebody in my generation, male or female, be like, I can't skate. You'd be like, what's wrong with you?
It's your...
You know what I mean? Because that was so much a part of the culture. Right. You know what I mean? It's just interesting, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. What's crazy about it is it wasn't inaccessible to me, right? I was at the skating rink every single week. I just wasn't skating. I was in the back juking at the rink, at the route.
But to that point, though,
even out at Markham,
how the culture shifts. I don't know nothing about the route. I think you was the one who even told me about. I never even knew that existed.
Yeah, the route was right there on 60s.
I missed the rink, and I definitely missed the route. But the rink was like I was aged out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had the Loop, we had Markham. But again, my mama went skating. So I'm talking about young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
5, 6. Mama going skating on Thursday nights, and she ain't got no babysitter.
Yeah.
So little nigga, you going skating.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And just by measure of being there, you pick up on it. You know what I mean? It's just interesting how it all moves.
No, I feel you.
It's interesting to me.
I love people that can skate. Like I love to watch good skaters skate. Well, me personally, I love to watch I love to watch masters at work. I don't really care what it is you do. You could paint, you could speak, you could DJ, whatever. If you are really, really good at what you do, I love to watch people do that. But skating is one of those things. It's visually like satisfying to watch people who are really, really good on skates, how they move, how they sway, how they turn, all that. Like I'd be like, dude, she's smooth as hell, he's smooth as hell. Like I just like to watch them do that. My mother was a skater. I remember the last time my mom skated though. It didn't end well. It didn't end well. I remember her skating when I was a shorty. And so she had skated for a long, long time, and then she kind of stopped skating. And then I feel like my cousin, I don't remember which one of my cousins it was, had a skating party. And my mama was like, oh, yeah, we're going to the skating party. And she thought that this 10-year layoff didn't mean nothing to her. Fam, she's skating. Boom. She's on the ground.
Man. It happens.
Tailbone, cracked, pain, shoot up the spine. Lady hurt for a long time. Last time she touched some skates, man. That's over with. But nah, I can appreciate it, man. I wasn't willing to risk it, bro. Like I'm scared that I'm gonna snap my Achilles again if I do some extra stuff. Like it just wasn't a good experience, and I'm just not. The mental hurdle is almost as big as the physical hurdle in trying to deal with this thing. Now, if somebody opened up like another football league, the love of the game will push me past my fear. I don't love skating enough to be like, let me push through this trepidation about my Achilles to skate. Like, nah, I just sit here and watch y'all. I set them aside and I was betting on who was gonna fall. I was taking bets.
DS says, I'm older than you and I can't skate. There was no money for skates or bikes in my family. I think it's DS' birthday too, so happy birthday,
happy
DS,
birthday.
if I got it right. But you know, who said something about money?
Right. we finessing our way through here, Jack.
I ain't say nothing about money. I'm just saying.
We used to finesse our way into the ring.
I've had hundreds of bikes in my life.
Were they yours?
And all of those bikes had me.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? When you don't have, you improvise. You know what I mean?
I would say skating was not my thing. I was too chubby. Shout out to the chubby guys, man. They got to be stuff for us to do.
Skating a good workout though.
I was gonna say skate.
Yeah, skating
is a good workout.
No, I know some bigger cats who get busy on skates. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too.
but they so big that they can't tie their skates up. So
Man, thinking about
Get
that
on my
though, G,
nerves.
that's another part. My son had some games this weekend, G, and it was this little guard, G. This little dude was the little fattest dude in the world.
Yeah.
But was getting down.
Under the Khalid Al-Amin Act. Remember Khalid Al-Amin?
Act, yeah, absolutely, G. But he was getting down, and it's funny. Like you think about it, there's a lot of dudes in our communities that be big dudes, but be straight, flat out athletes. You know what I mean? That's them good slave genes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting to see though. But yeah, man, skating was a good time when I was a shorty. I ain't been in a while. I think I might have took my kids one time, but you know, again, it's the culture shift, so it was kind of whack. You know?
Yeah, things changed, but no, it was definitely a different time, you know, growing up back then, as opposed to how I see the shorties now. And I'm sure that, you know, 20 years from now, they'll be telling some other shorties that they don't do shit. But
yeah, every summer, man, we hooping, we sneaking in the pool late at night, we jumping the gate, everything. We was doing it all.
Your parents didn't even expect to see you.
No.
And if they did, if they saw you like more than twice, then they hit you with that threat. Next time you come back in this house, you staying in. Like, ain't gonna be no running in and out. And that was really just mean, like, take y'all ass back outside, fam. Like, this is my time. Like, go out. It's a park over there. It's a court over there. It's a court over there. It's some rocks back there y'all can throw. Like, it's a football. Like, go outside, fam.
I wasn't one of them kids. You ain't have to tell me. Once I got up, I was out.
Nah, but we was out too. But I'm saying if you did come back to the crib for something, like, yo, ain't gonna be no running in and out.
Yeah, that wasn't my house. Right? I had a kick it house, so once I got up out of there, I was
gone. Right.
You know what I mean? So my boog and them had the kick it house. So if anything, we was over there.
Okay, so that was my house was home base. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So whenever it's a pause, or whenever we going to get a snack, or you know whatever, that was back at my crib, and so it turned into all right. Next time y'all come up in here, y'all staying. It's like, all right, well, in that case, we'll see you at 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? We definitely ain't coming back no more. Then you got to come in. Y'all smell like outside. Well, we been outside. I ain't know outside had a smell until I got old. It's a very, very distinctive smell too. Like it smells exactly like one particular. Like you smell like outside. Like it's funny because you don't smell it when you walk outside. Like you don't walk out your house and be like, oh, it smell like outside out here. But when you've been inside and then somebody else, specifically kids, go outside for a long time and they come back inside, it is a very, very distinct and specific smell that is outside. Like you smell like outside.
Howard Trout said, I lived in the country. We was fishing and riding horses. That's cultural too, right? Because I think about that. I've been fishing maybe twice in my whole life.
That is exactly 2 times more than me. Yeah. No, I guess I did it one time. I went fishing one time, but I ain't horseback riding and riding fish. That's riding fishes. First of all, what are fishes? That would be a cool way to grow up, though.
No doubt.
To ride horses and go fishing?
I rode horses, though. My godfather has horses out in, like, it's not Kankakee, but it's, like, right next to Kankakee. And just on some discipline and learning responsibility, he would take me out there to feed and tend to the horses for a long time.
Oh, that's what's up.
You know, and the horse is a serious deal. Like, that's a, 5,000-pound animal?
You ever experiment like my man's from Friday on the video?
I don't know nothing about what you mean.
It'll hit you in a minute. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so that's a different thing. And when you know people who like really own horses, like the way they deal with horses is something very different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In what way? What you mean?
Like, you know.
Like the attention to detail?
Not the attention to detail. Horse get out of line, they getting stole on. I'm not playing. It's something different, G. And you know, it's just it's interesting. And to be up on one of them joints at 5,000 pounds, and at the time I'm a shorty.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Might be a hot 90.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's a different feel of responsibility and accountability.
No, that's what I was gonna say when you said that. Like you got to be like strict with him and stern with him. Like the last thing you want that horse to figure out is that he can whoop your ass.
Yeah, you can't be scared.
Okay, because the horse can figure that out because he's definitely right. Okay, he just don't need to know it because if he figured it out, you're in trouble.
But that goes back to the nature versus nurture thing. That's the natural elements of understanding human behavior too, right? Yeah. When you act like a victim, you get treated like a victim. Yeah. When you scared, they know you scared. You know what I mean? So it speaks volumes to everything, right? Think about this, right? Humans pretty much dominate and rule the planet. Mm-hmm. Out of the animal kingdom, we probably the weakest ones.
Oh, yeah.
You understand?
If we weren't smarter than the other animals, we couldn't beat them in shit.
Yeah, but all of that over time, even before we started developing weapons, you had to be, you know, I'm sure you had to deal with your animal nature. Yeah. And granted, our power is our brain power, but it was, you know, you still looking down the barrel of a gun.
Oh no, you still got to be tough enough to do it. Yeah. But it's your brain that's like, okay, if I back him into this thing and I got my spear, then I can, you know what I'm saying, do this type of situation. Those nerd moment. The reason outside has a smell is because of See, come on, man.
Geosmin and the bacteria in the soil and oxygen and heavy molecules, and I can't read the rest because it says see more. So that's
every region is a little different too.
Doing science for us.
What's geosmin? Like I don't. Geosmin. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some science.
I appreciate that, Cherie. You know what? Cherie is the epitome of the balance that I seek to strike in life.
Why is people talking about happy birthday? It's not my birthday.
I don't know.
It's DS Sanders' birthday.
It's DS's birthday.
Yeah. I'm a Leo. I'm an August baby. Ain't my birthday. What's this, Taurus season?
Yeah, it's Taurus season, matter of fact.
So, yeah, nothing like that.
It's my brother Diop's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, shout out to Diop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another one of my brothers that you knew way before you knew me, which is weird as hell. What do you think? I was having a conversation yesterday about fear, and you talk about getting over your fear and animal instincts and whatnot. What part of fear do you think is like innate, like instinctual human response to certain things, and what part of fear do you think is like learned behavior? My premise is that there is a certain type of fear that is natural and innate. Like you just kind of have some instinctual things that if you ain't never ever seen an alligator. The first time you ain't never seen one, heard nothing about it, you don't know what they do. You see one, there's gonna be like this natural response, be like, yo, what the fuck is that? Or similarly to like walking in a dark room when you can't see, you just naturally slow down, right? Just because there's a bit of a fear about what's in front of me, the fear of the unknown, right? I think that fear of the unknown is kind of natural, whereas there are other types of fears that are learned over time, say like getting hit by a car, right? And I use that example specifically because when I was having this conversation last night, somebody referenced their son who is, they said on the autism spectrum, they said they don't, how they explained it was they don't really recognize fear. Like cognitively, they don't understand it, right? And so like she's like, I let my son hand go, he'll just walk out in the street because he doesn't have any understanding of those cars being a threat to him, right? So I think those
is that a recognizing of fear or a lack of consciousness in general though?
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't any type of, clinician on the topic, and certainly I was not. That was just how she was explaining her experience with her son. So I was just saying, okay, that may be one of those learned types of fears, right? Similar to like, you walking down a dark street and three niggas cross over behind you, and like that's a learned fear. If you ain't never been in that situation, you might not even take notice of it, right? So I think there are certain types of learned fears.
Another question too, though.
What?
Is that situational or is that conditional? Is that conditioning?
Conditioning.
Right. So is that, it's a lot of,
That's a learned fear. That's a learned behavior.
True, but is it learned through experience or is it learned through media, right? Do most people have that experience? I doubt it.
What experience?
To be afraid of 4 young boys crossing the street. You know what I mean?
No, not. Okay, go ahead.
I'm getting to the point of what percentages,
sure.
Right? So a long time ago, I saw this movie about the Amazon. Mm-hmm. And these young dudes, I'm talking about 12, 13, was jumping in whatever they would call the Amazon rivers or whatever,
okay.
Right? And they got one of them Jacques Cousteau research kind of things. And they got a camera going down when these dudes do these deep dives, and they deep diving for like a certain kind of fish. These 12, 13-year-old boys, children, you know what I mean? And as they deep diving, you see them swimming past electric eels, swimming past shit that I'd have had a heart attack in that water. You know what I mean? But because it was natural to their environment, it just was what it was. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think some level of fear is healthy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't know if it's all learned or if it's all kind of I don't know if it's innate or all learned. Because like that dude who jumped in that water with that electric eel, some shit I'm never going to do.
Sure.
Right? You put him in the middle of Robert Taylor when Robert Taylor was
He's going to be
Robert
paralyzed.
Taylor, he was like, man, what the fuck? Because
he'll be paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that again, there's that fear of this the unknown. I just don't, even if you're in your own house, right? Even in your own house where you kind of understand where everything is, if you turn the lights off and it's pitch black, you're gonna walk slower. There's a fear of like banging your toe, and maybe that's a learned thing. Like I've banged my toe before, I never want to do that again. Or just a natural fear of like I don't really know, and so let me just slow down and kind of feel my way through this thing. But I do think that there's a different kind of fear that is absolutely learned, and some of it is necessary. Now I think that you're talking about, or at least hinting at this idea of media and you know these narratives that are put out about that you should be scared. The same type of shit that got Trayvon killed. That
Social
type of
conditioning.
shit. Right. And that's not so much what I mean, right? I get that close correlation, but what I mean is, like, you grow up in certain environments, you become equipped to recognize things, you know, in real time or almost a split second before real time out of necessity. Like, you kind of just need to know that the Sunday morning when that car sped up on us, when we was about to do the video work, only growing up where we grew up told us that this is something to be concerned about. You know what I'm saying?
But
like,
even that is what? Social conditioning.
Yeah, but that is a good social conditioning. That is a healthy amount of awareness, sir. There's a fine line between, and first of all, I'm not really opposed to the idea of stereotypes, right? A lot of people, I know stereotypes have a negative connotation. I think they're absolutely necessary, right? I think it would be ridiculous if every time you enter this situation, you had to start from scratch with zero prior knowledge or experience to lean upon, right? You need to, if I'm walking down a dark block in the middle of the hood, I am happy to lean on all of my experiences from walking down dark blocks in the middle of the hood to tell me that may be dangerous, that may be dangerous, that may be dangerous. Even whether it's a person or a particular sight line or something that's out of my sight, I need to, make sure you can kind of expect what may be around that corner or expect what may be over here. Like those are healthy experiences to lean upon. And so all I'm saying is like, and I know it may sound bad or whatever, but if I'm walking in a certain place and three niggas hop behind me, yeah, I'm on edge about that now. Like I'm aware about that now. I'm hyper aware that they are behind me, and maybe they not on shit. Maybe they going into this building right behind me. Maybe they going the same path I'm going, right? And I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But while I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, I am preparing myself to defend myself also. And I think that that's just it's a survival skill that you learn growing up in certain environments.
How different do you think the world would be if we did take everything at face value, though, instead of leaning on expectations? Do you think it would be different in a healthier way or a negative way?
I think you see a lot more accidents, like people just dying in stupid ass ways. Like, man, you didn't see that? Like I just think that there's a necessary amount of foresight that you need to survive in this world. Like, I don't, whether you out in the Serengeti as a lion or whether you know, in the hood in Chicago or you live in fucking Beverly Hills, it don't matter. Like, there's a certain level of things that you need to be able to understand and draw upon as those situations arise before you.
Salim says we're genetically designed to avoid survival threats. Culture decides what those threats are.
Now, that's talking about both sides right there, ain't it?
So, to this point, man, I was having this conversation this weekend too, and to the point of Salim saying culture decides what those threats are. I think at some levels, maybe our natural inclination is the savage, and maybe the social dynamic
takes that out of you,
designed to quell the savage.
Okay,
right. I think without the social design, we might go back to the animalistic nature of, let's say, a lion or a tiger or any animal in the wild, and everything's up for grabs. It's survival of the fittest. I think that might really be more innate in us than we really give credit to.
I mean, you talk about the movie 300, which we've referenced, over the life of I Say What I Said quite a bit. Once the boys reached a certain age, they were sent out into the wilderness, and that was your entree into manhood. If you come back, you a man and you one of us. If you don't, you weren't supposed to be one of us. You're dead now. You know what I'm saying? And they throw you off in whatever. They had a whole mountain-sized pile of bones for people who didn't make it back. But if you did make it back, you was accepted into the tribe. That was your rite of passage. And it's in the film, if you haven't seen it, what they would do is send these boys out into this wilderness, and they had to fight this savage-looking beast that I don't even think is a real thing, right? But
a lion, wasn't it?
Hell no, it was a fucking lion, dog, monster, gorilla, ape, whale thingy, majiggy bob.
I didn't even remember it being no specific animal. I didn't.
No, it had like red eyes. It was like wolf, lion.
Because I thought he had to come back with like the fur. Didn't he like come back with the fur or something like that?
I don't know.
I thought you just had to come back.
I just know he killed it. I know the little boy, like, he ended up kneeling down in the small, like, narrow passageway where he knew the thing wouldn't be able to fit down in there, but he knew the thing would chase him in there. So the thing chased him. Thing got stuck in there. He jabbed his.
Q said it was a wolf. I don't know though.
Wolf my ass. Okay, no, this thing was a wolf lion thingy majiggy bob. Okay,
Man, I saw an animal video this weekend of a wolf. Like a dog ran. I don't know where they was at, but some dog out in the wilderness ran up on the wolf, and the wolf chased him around for a little bit. But the wolf didn't really just like get away from me with your goofy ass. But I ain't never seen a wolf. It was a specific kind of wolf, but it was huge. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. It was huge.
All right, y'all keep telling me it's a wolf if you want to. It was a wolf thinking majiggy bob. Okay,
A wolf thingamajiggy bob.
yeah, this was a special wolf.
Yeah, it was huge though. Whatever.
Yeah. Either way, point is, they were under the same act. Like, nah, you use your natural instincts and come back or don't come back. You know what I'm saying? And this was moms were signing off on this, dad was signing off on this. Everybody just understanding this. Go out there and either you come back prepared to join this army, or we don't really want you in the army no-how. So I think there is something to that, but
it's the Amos Wilson code. Mastering the environment in which you inherit.
Yeah.
It's part of this, man. You got to deal with it. I.e., when I was talking about, and this is not even like a mythical story, when I was looking at them little boys in the rainforest, them jumping in that water with that electric eel, that's just part of this. So you got to deal with it. You got to learn how to navigate this.
Yeah.
If an electric eel is in there, what else is in there? You know what I mean? So, and they was doing it like, it's Monday. Let's go. That's what we do.
Yeah, no, I don't know that, like, environments breed like different responses to different stuff, right? When I was out in LA and I was standing right there on the water, whatever, and I was seeing these seals, right? And they just out there swimming all day and they hopping on people's boats and they making these noises all night and all morning. But in the morning, in the daytime, people just out there on paddle boards, just them standing up, paddleboarding. I'm like, nah, hell no, it's big dumbass seals out there. Like, y'all wilding. There's no chance of me doing that because I think the seal is gonna hit my board, knock me over, and eat me. And then I don't want that to happen.
They just water dogs. They don't do that.
Okay. Let me tell you about a land dog, okay? I'm not dealing with them like that either, okay?
Yeah, it is what it is.
You sound like one of the people that's like, oh, he don't bite. Yes, he does.
I'm not afraid of dogs, though. Again, back to cultural and environmental. I grew up with dogs, right? So even in like I've been chased by dogs, and there's been situations where it's like
because you were scared.
I can't outrun this dog.
Right.
So then we just gonna have to. I don't want the smoke.
Right.
But if it comes to it, I'm gonna beat your ass, dog. You're not gonna win this.
Well, I mean, fight or flight. I'm gonna choose flight, and then if flight no longer works, then now we just gotta fight.
That's true. But my environment, me being accustomed to being around dogs,
right.
I know I can win this.
Okay.
It's not even a question. Okay. I'm going to win this.
I have to win this.
This is not a question. I'm going to fuck you up.
It's life or death.
Yeah, I'm going to win this, dog. So it is what it is.
You're not going to maul my face or grip my throat or nothing like that. DJ, what kind of dogs I got on the west side, man?
I got 4. I got
You got 4 dogs?
Yeah.
What kind?
I got a lab, I got a pit, and I got a lab pit mix.
Wow.
And then I got
they call those mutts.
No. And then I got
a lit.
And then I got a poodle.
And then you got a poodle.
Yeah.
It's real breeds of dogs on the west side?
Wait a minute. Time out.
I would assume it was all mutts.
You got a lab?
Shih Tzu.
I got a lab.
A pit.
A pit.
Them two had a baby that's a lab pit mix?
Yeah.
And then you have a poodle.
Right.
Where'd the poodle come from? Jeez, like
I would just say that somebody left it. And that's the truth.
Okay.
That's the truth.
Cool.
I was talking to somebody and we just say and they left it.
Cool.
Yeah, see, I ain't feeding nothing extra. I don't understand that in this moment. the wealth cap is too large. I'm not feeding nothing extra. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight.
No, I feel you. So how do you feel about this idea of not using stereotypes, not drawing on any past experiences for any present circumstance? Do you think that would create a healthier environment or what?
I don't know. I think it creates an interesting environment, right? And I think that we've been so conditioned. Our conditioned is conditioning. Conditioned, I mean. You know what I mean? So I think what happens is, again, if you look at it as a spectrum, we are the last generation. Whatever, the generation that's on the planet is the last generation or whatever of the moment.
Yeah.
And all of the conditioning up until a said point. Like, we're still dealing with conditioning from actual chattel slavery. You know what I'm saying?
For
We
sure.
didn't experience that, but we deal with the conditioning
For
from it.
sure.
You know what I mean? So all those experiences over time, I think the genome, I've heard this before too, that like the genome attaches to ideas. So when they was like, when you hear them stories like, you can't be born racist. No. Bullshit. Eons and eons of the genome pick up on behavior traits. You can be born racist, i.e. you can be born afraid of white folks. Now this is theory. This is scientific theory that I've heard before. I don't know if it's proven.
Sure.
But I've heard it for sure. And, you know, if we are all the sum total of everything that came before us, imagine what that looks like. Imagine the kind of stereotypical ideas we're harnessing inside. Like they say all the information in the world is already internal. All you got to do is tap into the energy. Like we talk about, you read so many books. But if you could just calm yourself, you would have access to all the information in the world. You know what I mean? So
Genetic memory
the only way
piece,
you could have access to all the information in the world is all that information travels through the genome. Because we all descendants of whatever the first human being was, right? So all that information is in us, and imagine what we would have to think of people to tap into that. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we are. We don't deal with most situations from their authentic self. We deal with them from the expectation of the situation instead of the reality of the situation.
No, I dig that. I don't know. It seems very reasonable to me to be able to take away some information from what I see around me. You know what I mean? And the only thing I can do for that is to draw on my past experiences. And sometimes that may be wrong. Like just using the example I've been using, them dudes might not be on nothing with me. All right. But if I were to ignore it completely and then they ran up and hit me in the back of my head, I would feel stupid. Right? That I would feel like that's my fault because growing up over East told me, hey, you should know that them three dudes is behind you, right? Now, I'm not saying turn around and what y'all on? You ain't got to kick it off with them. But you should know and you should be listening and you should see, are these footsteps getting closer to me? Like, are they talking? Are they saying something? Because if they aren't saying something, that's also a red flag for me.
Here's another perspective, though.
If they just back there talking their own chatter, I'm like, oh, they just doing their thing. Three dudes behind me and they all quiet for too long, that is another red flag for me. Like, why aren't y'all saying something? You know what I'm saying?
Again, this is our theory. But here's another perspective, right? Maybe if you didn't have that thought, maybe your energy and your frequency would emanate something different, and they would respond to that energy frequency, right? Maybe you would emanate peace, and maybe that would rub off on them. You know, I don't know.
I feel you. I hear what you're saying. I feel you.
It's just different, man. I think that
I just ain't willing to make that risk.
That I can't remember the name of this book, man, but there's a chart inside this book, and it talks about the frequencies of human, right? And, you know, let's say survival is at the very bottom, you know what I mean? And then love is like, it ain't the top. I think it should be the top, but I don't remember what the actual top was. But let's say love was like 3 down from whatever the top tier was. And I can't even think about all the stuff that's in the middle.
Sure.
But let's say it was like 12 different frequencies. Survival might be at the very root bottom. Love might be at the top of the pyramid, and it might be like close to number 4. And it said that it broke down like percentages. And the goal of this life is to get to the top of that pyramid, right? The very vast majority of humans, they say, operate within like 3 points from the bottom. Like I say 80, 90% of humans operate in that space, which is a very low level frequency. They said something like 2 or 3% are operating at love, and it was like point something at the top, right? But they said that if you was just operating in that love space, that you could change the energy from up to 12 to 25 miles away from you anytime you walked out the crib.
I believe that, bro. Like I truly, truly believe that. And it's how I try to, you know, curate my spaces and my environments that I'm in, whether that's my home or an event I'm putting on. Like, I want it to feel a certain way. I want it to feel like love. I want love to permeate through this space because that creates a sense of comfort, which then allows people to be themselves and have authentic interactions, which then leads to these just beautiful experiences that, you know, if you're reserved or you're shackled or you're uncomfortable, the space isn't opened up for those types of things to flow. And so I absolutely try and, you know, curate those types of environments all the time.
Think about it like this, though. We've had this conversation before. Like, growing up in Chicago, I'd be hard pressed to say there's not a young boy in this city, probably not even a black person in the city at this point, but in my era, specifically a boy that didn't suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
Like it was innate in us. You know what I mean? That twitching and watching. It wasn't a game, but it was almost like a prank. Like my homies, we would always find ourselves walking through the community 5, 10, 15 deep through the alleys. And somebody would always do this. They would like kick a garbage can real hard and just make a real loud noise. It wasn't nobody in that group to wait to find out what was going on. We all be gone.
Move.
That's post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Move.
But then you go away to college or something like that, specifically in the colleges that we went to because it was a small black population. All the black people used to speak to each other. The minute you get on campus, everybody was acknowledging you. Hey, man, hey. And my first reaction to that was like, man, why they keep talking to me?
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's, again, emanating
Your
certain
conditioning,
energy.
right.
That's my conditioning. You know what I mean? And when you get there, again, you get conditioned to conform to that society. And then going back and forth, it changes. And then if you was in part of that environment, you would recognize that over a year, 2 years, even though, let's say, the summers in Charleston or the summers down there at Southern, wasn't nothing really popping. But it was like, man, I would rather be down here than at the crib because it was more comfortable.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's just all conditioning.
Yeah, it's definitely more comfortable in that sense. But I think that, you know, I don't know, man. I think I'm so bought into it, right? Well, I am bought into it. Clearly, I'm conditioned by it, right? But I'm also so grateful for this sixth sense or this heightened sense of awareness that I've gotten from growing up in those environments because I've seen them literally save me. You know what I mean? I know for sure that I've been in many a situation where but for those instincts, but for that second nature of, yeah, this is about to get sent up or this is about to happen, but for those things, I don't know that I'd be here. Or I don't know that I'd be healthy or whole or whatever it is. And I've seen those things save me time and time again. And so because of that, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'd rather not operate that way.
But if, and again, theory.
Yes, sir.
Right? If we was to go with the other theory, maybe you didn't save you. Maybe you bought on the energy or you was part of the energy because of that heightened sense of awareness or that heightened sense of fear. Salim,
so you're saying maybe I created the chaos?
Part of the creation of the chaos, right? So Salim says certain spiritual teachers emanate that vibe. In fact, that vibe is what distinguishes their authenticity. The thing moves, so I hope that was
that's
the
what
end
it
of
said.
it. Right? But that's it. Like, top of that pyramid. I emanate so much love that me just being here elevates the frequency of this room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's how you want to move to the best extent that I can. Any event I've ever hosted, say 200 people or less, I try to speak to every single person in that room, right? Whether that's I'm there early enough, so I'm there early enough to greet people, or during intermissions or during performances or whatever. I'm trying to get around and just at least say what's up because I just want a certain vibe in the space. And I think that you have to be intentional about creating that vibe. You can't just like everybody's gonna come in here and they just gonna know the vibe that I'm on, right? Nah, you kind of got to set that vibe and you do it intentionally. You do it through a lot of different ways, but one of the ways that I like to do it is just to have a genuine, quick interaction with a person and say, hey.
Sometimes it's just showing up though.
Yeah.
Whenever your mama around. Your mama specifically, right? Your mama's the huggy, kissy, hey baby.
Yeah.
The energy's different.
All the time.
Period.
All
you
the
know
time.
what I mean? It's just different. Just because you showed up, it's just different.
Yeah.
I think about, my grandmama, my auntie. That don't happen with every woman in my family. That don't happen with every woman. I mean, certain women harness that kind of energy.
Sure.
That just when you in that space, you're like, damn, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it gets theoretic. You know what I mean? But again, because we're from here, because we're in this environment, because we are who we are, because we've had the experiences we've experienced, we harness a certain kind of energy. Now, we might not give it the just due credit, but we think about going into church. I'm not no big, religious guy at all. You know what I mean? Mythical Sky Daddy don't move me like that. Right? But going to church,
I can't wait to get back to church.
Going to church and listen to a soloist in the choir. For me to outright say I don't have no feelings one way or the other about religion. But when that soloist gets to singing, that energy itself can raise me to a different understanding.
That's real.
You know what I mean? It evokes certain emotions out of you. It changes your spirit.
I remember being in church, man, and there was a lady. And she started to sing, except she wasn't really singing. She was humming, right? She did not use a single word, like not a single word. It was all humming. It was very rhythmic. It was melodic, but it was so soulful that I can remember like feeling like this sense of like inside of me, like I could cry right now. You know what I mean? Like, and it was, and she wasn't even saying, like she wasn't even using words. It was so deep. There's this other video, and you know maybe at some point before we get out of here, I'll try to find it and we can play it. They were in Africa, and there's a bunch of students around here, and they're singing, and I have no idea what language they're speaking, so obviously I don't know what they're saying. But it was so deep, it was so touching, it was so moving to the point again where I could have cried just listening to it. And I don't even know I don't know one word about what they're talking about. I was so moved by it that I had to go do research to find out what it is they were saying, right? Because clearly this touched me somewhere that I couldn't even understand. I couldn't reconcile this in my head for nothing in the world, but it was so moving. And I'm like, yo, who are they and what is it about? It turned out that the dudes who were kind of like leading this thing, they were like big hip hop or R&B artists in the space, right? And then they had gone to this school camp where almost all of these students here had been directly impacted by the war in and around them, right? And so they had lost parents and siblings, like all of these students, classmates, all of them. And the song that they were singing was about that. And you could feel it, dog. You could feel it. I'm gonna find the thing, and I'll try to find it over the break, and maybe we can come back with it when we play. I'll send it to you and see if we can pull it up. But
shout out to Lemuel Williams, my brother D. He says that's because we are spirits wrapped in unrighteousness flesh, and I agree. We are, right. We're having a human experience. You know what I mean? But we are spirits. You know what I mean? And I think that's why music specifically is so powerful and so dangerous. Right, because it is one of the
universal language.
Only universal language is a communicator. You know what I mean? So when you start thinking of drill, that's a very low frequency, and you see what it creates, right? And you know, there's other frequencies that are much higher. They say jazz is one of the most, I forget what the word specifically, dynamic forms of music. I don't know what the word specifically is, but you know, jazz has a certain kind of calming effect on the human spirit. You know what I mean? It's different.
Blues is that way too, man. Like you go to like a good blues club, and there are some here in the city. Matter of fact, last time we was talking about blues, somebody told me about one that I need to go to. I forgot what the name of it was, but I'll figure it out.
Buddy Guys.
That may have been it. Is it down by the river or somewhere like that?
Nah, I'm not hip to that one.
Okay. Anyway, you hear like some of these blues singers, and they get to singing, and it just that's a spiritual experience as well, man. Let's take a break. When we come back from break, we'll have more on this conversation and more. I'll try to find that video. We see if we can get into it. His name is Tu. My name is Herb. Reese the Ruler is in the production studio. We'll be right back.
WIIFTBP.
Since 2018, nearly 3,000 tax credit scholarships have been awarded to Black students in Illinois to attend private schools that best fit their needs. Now, Governor Pritzker wants to slash this program. In a time of much uncertainty, we need greater equity in education for our families and children, not less. Call your state representative and senator and urge them to stand up for our kids and their future by supporting the Tax Credit Scholarship Program. For more information, visit empoweredillinois.org.
Hey y'all, this is Salim Muwakil from Muwakil's World. In case you missed the last discussion, this is what you missed.
There was a time when there was a large-scale mythology that African people had no endurance, and we were only good for sprinting.
Right.
And that was our forte. Other than that, we were useless in marathon races. Establishing your patrimony on the land. If you bury the dead, that means that this land is forever in your family.
Who are our ancestors, really? We are the living ancestors to a whole genealogical line going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years that we carry within us living today. Everyone who preceded us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, however, that conception took place, whether it was violently, with rape, or whatever the case, but we are them living today.
That's why it's important to understand our capacity, man. Our capacity is unlimited. We have unlimited potential.
Absolutely.
So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1 p.m. on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Ascension.
Coming from where I'm from, every season's hot where I'm from. Seems like everybody got a op where I'm from. Niggas barely make it to the top where I'm from. Coming from where I'm from, still fooling. We done lost a lot where I'm from. Still watching for them niggas trying to plot where I'm from. Everybody trying to make it out where I'm from.
Look, where I'm from, you gotta decide your own outcome. When niggas keep the peace like King and still move like Malcolm. Get it by any means as long as income is the outcome. Hit that stop button when they mouth run. Damn, straight bullets through the skies that powder babies just like talcum. Heartbroken mothers pray to God and ask him how come. You kill one of mine, you gon' get outdone. Say yourself cause Batman ain't gon' save you here in Gotham, where everybody grew up with a hoop dream. That ain't work, so now that brother out here trying to move peas. Shoebox stash and try and stack it up for that new V. Scat packs, Hellcats, SIT, that new Jeep. Ballin' like a school team. I get gone off one of them cones, stay in my zone, no 2-3. R.I.P. to all my dogs, this Hennessy hit concrete. Free my boys behind them walls until they see us all free. Till our day come, we gon' keep on ball link, chillin'.
Coming from where I'm from, every season's hot where I'm from. Seems like everybody got a op where I'm from. Niggas barely make it to the top where I'm from. Coming from where I'm from. We done lost a lot where I'm from. Watching for them niggas trying to plot where I'm from. Cause everybody trying to make it out where I'm from. I'm from the city of Fo now. Folks in Mo now. Blocks they strolling while the cops
Kuliko jana baraka zake hazikuishi, si kama binadamu badiliki, ananipenda kuliko jana Yesu nipenda. Yesu nipenda. Sina kuomba Mungu uwasamehe, wangalijua jinsi unavyonipenda mimi. Ananipenda kuliko jana, baraka zake hazikuishi, si kama binadamu badiliki, ananipenda.
Anyhow, for some reason, that was the video I was referring to. When I saw it, it moved me. Didn't move me the same way this time, but nonetheless,
I get it though.
Yeah,
I get it though. When I think about like my favorite song of all time, it's Sam Cooke, "Change Gonna Come." You know what I mean? Because no matter what, that song evokes emotion. You know what I mean? Even when I think about some of my favorite MCs, you know, CeeLo Green is one of my favorite MCs. He don't get the credit, in my opinion, he deserves. But, you know, one, he has that kind of southern, deep soul. He can sing, you know what I mean? But even just the words that he elects to use when he writes rhymes, it just touches you differently. You know what I mean? And that's, in general, when I think about artistry, you know, that's the artist that I value the most. Those who can evoke emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, that particular video, man, the one we just played, I've literally watched it, I don't know, probably hundreds of times. Because the first time I saw it, I don't know, it moved me in such a way that I just had to keep on watching it. And I was like, yo, this is wild. And I literally, from scratch, had to figure out who are these people and what is this song saying? Because clearly it's speaking to my soul, and I'm not aware enough or I'm experienced enough to know what it's saying to me, but it's saying something directly to me, and I need to know what it is, man. That thing is really, really powerful. But anyhow, there was one bit of current events, American stuff that we want to get into, man. Been talking about this conversation about, racism in America. Is it a real thing? Obviously, we know that it is, right? But when you have the president, the blackface vice president, and other blackface leaders across this country saying otherwise, creates a bit of a conundrum. And you wanted to speak specifically about
James Claiborne
from South Carolina.
And I think this is interesting, right? So over the last, week and a half, I guess, it's been this kind of the Tim Scott quote where he was like, America isn't racist or whatever. And then you had Biden chime in, and you had Kamala chime in, and then you had Jim Claiborne chime in, right? Mm-hmm. And all of them was like, yeah, no, I'm with it. You know what I mean? And they might have put whatever sauce they put on it, but they was basically like, yeah, no, it's not. Mm-hmm. And then you think about this whole election cycle, and this isn't about them. I want to reiterate that over and over again. This isn't about Kamala Harris, at least my statement. Mm-hmm. This isn't about Joe Biden. This isn't about Claiborne. Mm-hmm. This is about us as a populace and what we accept and the frequency that we operate in at. When we just talked about frequencies and fears just a minute ago, it's the frequency that we're operating at. So when you get back to the primaries, mm-hmm. Kamala Harris had not won one primary. When you get back to the primaries, Uncle Joe was looking like, at best, he had Alzheimer's. When you get back to the primaries, you know what I mean? Bernie Sanders was whooping their ass, you know what I mean? True. And was looking like the people's candidate, you know what I mean? But Bernie being Bernie and the kind of politics that Bernie aligns himself with does not fit with the white dominant power structure. It threatens white capitalism.
Indeed.
So even the white capitalist was like, we don't want Bernie. Straight. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So we have to make this thing happen with Biden. And what they did was when they got to South Carolina, they leveraged Jim Claiborne, and he convinced those South Carolinians to push them through. And that became the candidate for the Democratic ticket, right? And from nobody in our community really rocking with either of those people, Kamala even being an AKA, the AKAs wasn't even rocking with her, mm-hmm. right? That one move forced our community's hand to say, hey, man, we riding with whatever the ticket say we riding with, right? Now, both of them campaigned on American racism. Trump was our last president.
Oh, yeah.
The whole campaign was rooted in American racism.
They don't fuck with y'all, we do.
That's the whole story. Why? Because it was the black vote that was going to dictate the presidency.
Joe Biden came out of his whole face and said, if you vote for Donald Trump,
you ain't black.
Okay.
Because it was our vote that mattered, right? And I want, again, our frequency, right? Simultaneously, there were several sects of black people saying, no, let the chips fall where they may.
Right.
No, this ain't the moment.
Right.
No, this is the moment to really galvanize ourselves and command and demand something specifically for our community.
But what did we open up the show talking about?
And the vast majority of our community operated at a very low level frequency of fear.
Fear.
And was like, no, we ain't black if we don't vote for Joe.
I'm scared of dude over here.
Right. So now we're a little bit past the first 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some executive orders.
For Asians?
None fitting our community.
For transgenders?
To our community. None helping us in any way. We experienced, we are the worst affected by COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're about to see an increase in our community of people going to jail because they took advantage of the PPP moves. Mm-hmm. Let's believe they're going to get back with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see some very damaging outcomes in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Very damaging. We saw George Floyd and we saw all that, but you know, the George Floyd policing bill still hasn't been passed.
Right.
And just the other day, Claiborne says, and this is a story that we sell all the time, don't let good be the enemy of great. And that's kind of what he's saying here.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that police reform bill, what Claiborne is saying is that qualified immunity doesn't have to be a part of that bill. And what qualified immunity does is it makes the police accountable for their crimes specifically.
Right.
Not the department, not the state, not the city. John.
You, motherfucker.
John is responsible. John got to deal with this shit. Right? Which in turn will force John's hand to say, do I want to deal with these repercussions? Do I want to deal with these consequences?
Yeah, Dick Gregory had it. He laid it out as best as I've heard laid it out. And he was talking about, requiring each officer to be insured, right? And it is to say that, okay, once you reach a certain level, then you're no longer insured, right? You lose your job. You're not insured. We're not having you out here. And he said that it would then make each one of those officers ask themselves a question in all of these incidences. Said, do I hate said unarmed black person more than I love my children? Am I gonna stop my kids from eating because I hate this person so bad? And I think that's a real thing. Don't put it on the department. Don't say, oh, well, the city will back me up. The city might pay them $1 million. We'll be done with it, right?
We had the president of the FOP in here with Mason last week. You saw how arrogant he was?
Yeah.
Because he knows there's no real threat to him. And no matter in any capacity. He's on air saying, yeah, we did it. And what? And what? Right? So, when Clyburn comes out and says that, don't let good be the enemy of great. From one hand, I fully understand that specific statement.
The concept, right?
The concept, right? But I see you as the problem.
Right.
Right? I see you as part
you are the enemy.
Right. You are part of said system. You are the creation of said system. You are why this kind of energy persists. Right? And I think that don't let good be the enemy of great philosophy is also in my mind a remnant of that slave fear. I think we move through society in that way. So after 400 years of oppression here in this society, we're still taking these small baby steps. Like, well, we gonna get this. Well, we gonna get this instead of demanding the whole cookie. We want the whole cookie. Right? It's all ours. And there's something to be said, even in regards to like the stop Asian hate conversation. Compare and contrast that with Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm not even a fan of Black Lives Matter. Right? Compare and contrast that with Black Lives Matter. Right? Within a year, there's been legislation passed. Where's the stop hating everybody people?
Right.
Where they at?
Right.
Right.
All lives matter.
All no hate is good.
Right.
Where are them people?
Right.
There's no backlash to that. Right. So when we start thinking about it like that, we got to say, well, if that's the case, this is a teachable moment, a learning moment. This ain't about black value. They don't value you. Period. So as a populace, we got to move succinctly. And the hell with what y'all think. Them, the other, whatever the opposing teams are.
For sure.
Right? So these incremental moves just ain't good enough.
No.
Run that or we gonna have an issue.
Period.
But because we don't move as a collective, fear permeates and, we're back to square one.
Right. Because I think it's important the way you just put it, because we don't move as a collective, fear permeates, right? I think that there's obviously there's strength in numbers, right? But there's also just security in it. There is audacity in it, right? And then I don't mean numbers like it's a whole lot of us or it's more of us than it is of them even, right? I just mean that, if me, you, and DJ going to do something and I am fully assured that y'all on the same thing I'm on, my audacity to proceed in this mission is that much greater. Just by the fact that we together in this. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to go. But we together in it, so we moving. We all gone. And I think that because we don't have that shared identity, we don't have that that unity quite ironed out just yet, it causes some trepidation a bit in how we move, right? It's like, again, going back to how we started this conversation talking about fear, it is moving through a dark room. It's like, let me slow down, let me kind of feel my way through it, as opposed to walking through here with the audacity of a God and say, no, this is my space and it's going to operate how I see fit.
One thing for certain, though, when you're afraid to fail, you're going to fail.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
One thing for certain, back to the fear conversation we was talking about earlier, how I was like, maybe you was part of the energy that created that frequency. It was going to go up. I have this expectation, and when you have that expectation, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think we move through life with those kind of expectations. Think about the conversation of just reparations in general, right? Whenever we say reparations, I ain't going to say whenever, but the vast majority of black people respond with, they ain't going to never give that to us.
Right.
First of all, I said reparations. I didn't say ask for a motherfucking thing.
Right.
I'm not expecting they to give me nothing.
Run it.
I'm expecting to go get it.
Run
There's
it.
a difference in my mentality.
Run it.
Right? But our mentality says, and this is all of us has had this conversation somewhere before, and it irritates me.
Sure.
And it's the colloquial response is they not gonna give us that. Who was asking?
Right.
That's the difference in mindset.
Run me what you owe me.
Yeah, that's the difference in mindset. I'm coming to get it.
But like I say all the time, it's strange because only in our relationship with the United States government do we function that way. We do not function that way in any other walk of our society.
I'd argue I disagree.
Okay, well I'm gonna say this: if I leave the studio right now and I stop by any restaurant and I order food and I get home and it's something else other than what I ordered, I'm not gonna say, well, they ain't gonna send me a refund. Damn right they ain't gonna send me a refund. They don't even care. They don't even know for real, right? And they definitely don't care, right? I gotta go get it. Like,
I'd argue we operate in that capacity everywhere, except for amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I think only when we're talking about our relationship with the United States government do we function in that way. I think every other walk of our society, of our lives, when we receive less than we expect to receive, we gonna throw a fit about it. I don't care where we at. Restaurant.
But so again, that's back to that emotional thing, right? We'll throw a fit with the Asian lady at the beauty supply about the price, about them watching us. Yeah. But then tomorrow we'll be back.
Agreed.
So it's not valid. It's not for real. It's not authentic. You just talking. You just woofing. We saw Tyrone throw bricks through the window, and sister was like, "You got my nails right. You still gonna take care of this, right?" So again, it's perspective. Are you really throwing a fit? You understand what I'm saying? Are you really making a statement?
At least to the point of where I feel restored for what happened today, right? At least to the point where this meal is wrong. Remake this meal or give me my money back for this meal. Whether I come back tomorrow, I probably shouldn't. Different situation though. We're going to at least make sure that I am restored for what just happened here. You messed up this nail. You need to fix this nail. Well, am I going to come back next week? Yep, probably going to bring my black ass back in here next week. But you're going to fix this nail because this is the one you just messed up.
Man, we shot behind bulletproof glass, bro.
Oh, it's trash, bro. I'm with you. I'm not.
Just think about that theoretically.
It's trash.
We shot behind bulletproof glass.
It's trash.
We don't have any standards, fam.
Yeah, it's absolute trash, right?
I'm not. We don't have no standards.
But I'm saying bulletproof glass or not, if they don't put cheese on your burger, you sending it back. Okay. Meanwhile,
even if it's behind bulletproof glass.
Even if it's behind bulletproof glass, if they don't put cheese on your burger, you sending it back. Meanwhile, Joe Biden and Kamala could tell you for Joe Biden and Kamala could tell you for half a year that what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do. Then they get here 100 days, they do nothing for you, do everything for everybody else who didn't get them in office, and then we just like, oh, okay.
And they got bulletproof glass, but whatever that hole I can fit in, because you know it's all that little bit. Yeah, I'm going to let that bit go. You know, bullets ricochet. I don't get no.
Right. For real.
But back to frequency.
We're going to spaz out. Like, when you get off, you done heard people as soon as you get off, I'm going to be outside. Like we're going to do whatever to correct the fact that you messed up my sandwich. Correct the fact that you miseducating my shorty. Correct the fact that you locking up my brothers and my sisters. Correct the fact that you doing these predatory loans. Not like, nah, we ain't correcting that.
And that's kind of my point, right? The bulletproof glass is a reflection of how they feel about you. You know what I mean? Like DJ live on the west side. That's the heroin highway. Them is white people buying dope. You understand what I'm saying?
Already, if I see a white person in my neighborhood, like you
know what time it is.
There's no reason for you to be over here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But even from our perspective, do you think the average west sider treats the black dope fiend the same way they treat the white dope fiend?
Oh no, sir.
No, sir. Because we've been conditioned to think a different way. Period. Even we don't respect us. You understand what I'm saying? So the bulletproof glass becomes acceptable. Right?
Agreed.
The Chinese woman stealing in your purse or calling you nigga, whatever a myriad of videos that we've seen around those behaviors comes out, and it is what it is. Matter of fact, they're one-off incidents. Stop Asian Hate comes out, and I see black folks emanating this message. You understand? Same black folks that I didn't see, because I've seen at least 30 Asian nail salon hair care videos that are beating up on sisters.
For sure.
I don't see those same black people promoting those ideas of, hey, Asians, stop hating black women.
Or like you said earlier, Where was the stop hating everybody?
I agree, but I don't even think we're worthy. We don't think we're worthy of it.
That's obvious too.
All right, yeah, that's sickening.
It is. It's an absolute sickness, but it's obvious when you walk out your front door and you see just the sheer physical conditions that we're willing to live in. Right. Shout out to Sel Dunlap, the General Sel Dunlap, who's always spearheading the campaign on the red black cleaning green. He's always talking about cleaning up. It's his life's purpose.
It
right?
is. Sel is sick too, I think. Man.
Yeah, he is.
So
He's not.
He gets well. I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's not doing his best for sure. But even in that, he's still going. Maybe some of y'all seen the picture of the gentleman standing on the corner of City Hall downtown that said, Mayor Lightfoot, let us see you naked, right? After the Anjanette Young situation. That was Sel. Like, he has that type of audacity, that type of gumption.
Handsome old dude, man. I think
real nice
keeps him lively, you know what I mean? Because he's an older cat for real.
No. Uncle Sel is definitely an older guy, but he is committed to the movement. But anyway, he's always talking about, the fact that we live in the environments that we live in and how they look, talking about the trash and debris, right? There is a certain level of, I don't really give a fuck about me, that I have to kind of internalize to be okay with the conditions around me, right? And then that also impacts how I feel about everybody else who lives here. And so that obviously is going to impact what our interactions are today. So, I don't know. It matters. Juliet, are you saying that Sel's birthday is today or yesterday? Anyway, yeah, I think that matters, man. It matters.
But to the point of Clive One, to the point of Kamala, to the point of Biden, to the point of Scott, to the point of Lori Lightfoot, for that matter. Mays had this conversation earlier a little bit about will Lori Lightfoot run again. Mm-hmm. I think she's going to run again, surely because of her own arrogance. She's definitely going to get mollywopped, though, But I've been telling y'all for the longest, the next play is Arnie Duncan, And the Arnie Duncan play is going to be leveraged via the Obama ticket. You know what I mean? Hey, he's Obama's boy. He hoops with black people.
Right.
They're going to throw that out there.
Oh.
He's the white boy, black candidate.
I believe that.
You know what I mean?
Believe that.
And we're in a interesting time in this very moment. We need to be figuring out what our next move is as a populace because we're losing, our politics is local and we're losing our city, period. Mm-hmm. I read a study last week, I think I told you, but I'm not sure. But they did a study of how ingratiated the middle class was into Chicago society. And this wasn't even a black conversation. It just was in general, like what percentage of Chicago was middle class families from the time I was born up until like 2018. So like 1970, whatever, so let's say middle 70s, the Chicago middle class made up something like 85% of the population. Mm-hmm. By 2018, 2019, Chicago's middle class is at something like 16%. What do you think them people are?
Right.
You think they moved up on the class spectrum?
Moving on down.
Yeah, it's a wrap, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start thinking about Obama's tenure, who Arnie Duncan is to that camp, mm-hmm. You think about J.B. Pritzker, who he is to that camp. Mm-hmm. You think about how Democratic politics has worked in Chicago thus far. What do you think? What happens? It's a wrap. I mean, we only got 13% of, and that's not black people. That's all populace.
Sure.
It's a wrap. They're making this city. They're gonna make the city a more transient city for upwardly mobile people. And if we know by the sheer number of, it's only 2% of us specifically in the private sector. Y'all heard you talking about Gary earlier. You better get ready to move there because that's where your ass gonna be.
Yeah,
and that's just first stop. Because after a while, they're going to get tired of your ass there. You're going to find yourself in Alabama.
Yeah, they moving them out there. I keep trying to tell them they trying to move us to the suburbs and everything. And
yeah, I mean, but first we willingly went. First we couldn't wait to go. You know what I'm saying? Like we couldn't wait to go south and wherever. And now it's like, okay, well, we sending all the rest of them too. So then where you gonna go? Now you want to come back? Oh, you can't come back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so it's
you had down here talking about, Gary coming up. Yeah, they preparing your mind to think that.
Oh, they gotta tell you.
And then when
they gotta tell you it's a pop ass out there.
It's a pop ass out there.
And that neighborhood that you left and everybody else left that was so bad now has been regentified and sold to the white man for half off because you left trash on that because you ain't do nothing. So they came through it.
I think that when they was trying to get, was it the 2012 games or the 2016 games? Which ones did we? 16 games. We was trying to get that, and we got so close, and it came down to us in Rio de Janeiro.
Like, no, we got put out in the first round.
Nah, I thought we was one of the finalists.
We was the first one to put out in the very first one kicked out. I remember watching that because I was, I want to say maybe it was the 20, the other one, 8-1 to 12, but whichever one that we was the first eliminated.
Mark, we ain't got no call in number, G, but you can type it in the text and we'll read it out loud. Type it in the chat and we'll read it.
Yeah, or hit us up on something else too, Mark. But okay, so we didn't go as far in that process as I thought we went. I thought Chicago was like one of the final four cities or something.
We were the final four, but so they picked four. And then after they picked, so it's like four. So it's like all right, and then but you win out of that. So
we wasn't never close. I thought we was like close.
No, we wasn't close. But think about that.
My bad.
The Olympics was supposed to be directly across the street from my crib. Like directly, like I'd have looked out the window and I'd have been there.
They was gonna use Washington Park as one of the sites.
Use Washington Park, right? Okay. So from a standpoint of my property value, like I could have rented my crib to a TV channel for
2 weeks for $1 million?
For like $2 million.
Easy.
Like that was the going deal. You know what I mean? Now think about this. At the time, what was that? That was probably like almost 10 years ago, something like that, wasn't it? It was a while ago.
It was in 2016.
It was right before the real estate dropped out, the market fell, right? So at the time, my crib was probably appraising like right before that for like $315 or something like that, which wasn't super high, right? But after that Olympic bid failed, my crib immediately started appraising at like $60,000, bro. From $300 to $60,000.
Wow.
Right? So now I'm house poor and we were stuck there for the duration of my child's life because we can't lose that kind of money. You know what I mean? But now as the neighborhood is starting to gentrify, again, about black people being a contagion of wealth. And the neighborhood ain't changed, fam. It's still the same amenities. Ain't no new brick being bought in there. It's still the same cribs. It's just new residents, right? And think about that. And whatever number of years that is, 16. Let's say it was 16 because I'm not sure the number, right? But let's say it was 16.
It was 2012.
It was 2012.
Yeah, it was 2012.
Was it 12 Olympics?
Yeah, my daughter, she was only one. Yeah, that's how I know.
Oh, wow.
That was the year that Michael Jackson died, too. He died.
Okay, so then all the bidding process and stuff, that would have been, between 8 and 10. You know what I mean?
2012, right?
Yeah.
2021. Right? So we looking at 9 years. My crib is appraising for 400-something thousand now, from 60,000. Because we can't go back to where it started at the market. Right. It went from 60 and all the way up until like 2019. It wasn't really good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But in a 2-year time span, it's quadruple. You can't even. What's that? Quadruple or maybe even more. You know what I mean? You got them places on 39th and I can't think of the name of the street, but they going for 1.5. But them is about white folks, right? I.e., we don't have the value, right? Them aldermen in them areas is hoarding them slots. They won't even sell them to black people,
right?
Because they want the white dollar. You know what I mean? That's our fault, bro. That's our fault.
Yeah, no, it is our fault. I want to say more in a complicit way, more so than a causal way, though. You know what I mean? Like we've been kind of complicit with the play more so than we have.
And I'd ask, at what point do you stop being a victim and start becoming a volunteer?
Agreed. But I think that's kind of the intersection of complicity and causality. You know what I mean? Like that's. I think we all understand what the cause is. I think it's a little bit murkier to try to understand where we've been complicit with the play along the way, right? And I think that there's a litany of ways, one of which certainly being how we relate to or interact with politics and politicians, based on our return on investment, right? But also, how we interact with the school system, how we interact with each other, even like all of that shit allows us to kind of fall for the okie doke, and then we look up and it's like, yo. We in the
yeah.
It's like now what do I do?
Yeah, what was them last 10 years at, you know?
Right.
And then you're looking at them people that try to teach you something and they didn't took off. But like you said, it be our own people, man. Like you can't try to help nobody else. Like I don't know what it is about black people, but we cannot, as soon as you think you know more than me, you know, like as soon as you say somebody something, then they feel some type of way. Like we don't stick together though.
Yeah.
It's a nuanced conversation because I don't like laying the blame in our lap like that because I know it's a both and kind of conversation. But at some level, though, we do have to level up and start taking some level of accountability and responsibility. The system is definitely slighted. The system is definitely designed against us. That's all true. All that's true. Mm-hmm. But even when your back's against the wall, you still got to fight. You can't just succumb to it, right? And what we've done is succumb to it. And what we've done is because of our level of ignorance, we've trusted in those who supposedly supposed to represent us, and they're on the take. Because they understand that to be in the top 1% of black people, $100,000 will put you there. And what other jobs in our community can you really make that kind of capital without really having to do too much of nothing? You know what I mean? So that's why the vast majority of our wealth is either in entertainment, sports, or politics. Because those are the places where those opportunities mathematically are acceptable or come through. Mark wrote a whole dissertation. I'm going to try to read it.
I'll read it. He says, here's how they plan to rid us. And then, because Mark liked to yell at people, he says, read this. Like I was about to read it anyway. There were more than 100,000 unfilled positions in our city in 2011, a number that is expected to grow over the next decade. We will accelerate economic growth by training and attracting immigrants to fill these positions. Our youth, to attract top employers and create jobs for all residents, our city must have a skilled, educated workforce. Immigrant children will make up the next generation of Chicago's workforce. 37% of all children in Chicago come from families with an immigrant parent.
That's real.
Yeah.
And then Mark says right under that, he says, this is straight from the Office of New Americans document. So this is like, I guess that's a quote from one of the city's documents on their Office of New America, which Mays, Mark, Tyrone, and all that was downtown for, what was that, last week, I think it was.
Yeah, we don't want you niggas here no way. We'll find somebody else to do the shit we don't want to do.
Essentially, here's reparations, and we're going to give it to the immigrants. You know what I mean? But again, though, there's something to say about that immigrant community. You know what I mean? There's something to say about having a real fundamental identity. And that's what it is. It's like, these are the standards. This is what we rocking with, and we're going to stand strong and stand firm behind this. What happens in-house, those show out of the house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't have that. So we kind of cheer and clap for proximity to whiteness. And then when with the people that we put into our elected positions, when they get to that proximity to whiteness and start responding to that white shit, then we confused why they respond to that. It's what we cheer for. It's what we ask for. It's what we value. It's what we aspire to. Right, we got to have that collective identity that says to us, we ain't going.
Right,
we ain't going. But again, you get 10 niggas to say, we ain't watching the NFL, and 2 gonna be like, we are.
Right,
and then it's all disjointed again.
It's broke again.
You know what I mean? And it's over. It's repetitive. You know what I mean? It's a repetitive cycle, and that's also a response from slavery. You know, it's what Salim says is why reparations is so important. Because it gives us a chance to anchor ourselves in economically and then fix all the other traumas. I.e., when I talk about the ADOS movement, it was never, I've always told you, reparations is great. I see the value in it.
It ain't the solution.
But it's not the solution. What I think the most valuable part of that ADOS movement is that it gives us a distinctive identity. Something separate than just black.
Agreed.
Something separate than just the diaspora. Because when we talk about these immigrant conversations, be clear, it's not just the Hispanics or the Latino community.
Nah,
it's also the Nigerians. It's
and
also
the Haitians.
It's all of that. It's all part of it, right? So they come here and they take your birthright, and then they act like we're a group, and we're not. Because when they go home, they don't deal with it like that. Right? They don't break bread in our communities. Chicago is like epicenter for the truth of America. You know what I mean? It's so segregated that you get to see how the populations really move. You in New York, you in Cali, shit, you in Iowa for that matter. If there is a diverse group of people on that block outside of white people, it will be some Hispanics and some blacks and some whatever else is mixed in. But in Chicago, every group is in their section.
You say it's like Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
Everything
It ain't
on the
gumbo.
plate, but ain't none of it mixing, baby.
Right.
It is. It's not gumbo. It's everything's on the plate. But we in our sections, you know what I mean, and that's how this plays out, right? The macaronis and the greens ain't the same. They both taste good, but they ain't the same.
I like visual analogies like that. That's a good one for me.
It's real. It's real though.
It is very, very real, and I think that. So Ready Rock said a minute ago, Dang it, the thing moved on me. She said, our elected officials can certainly do better. Cleanliness is easy to maintain. And while I like that premise, and certainly that our politicians can do better, and cleanliness should be an easy place to start, it becomes more challenging when you consider how long we've been kind of indoctrinated into believing that it is okay for our environments, our communities, our neighborhoods to look like this. And you see it play out because I don't litter, right? I'll keep a piece of trash in my pocket, in my car or whatever until I get to a trash can. I'm not throwing it out my window, but I can't stand to see like a car in front of me, lower the window down, just throw out a whole bag of McDonald's.
I ain't gonna lie, I used to throw shit everywhere. I don't care, right?
I'm sure at some point I did too.
But now I just do that in white communities.
Right, because of reparations.
Y'all clean this shit.
No, I'll do it too. I ain't gonna lie. If I swear to God, I'm not. No, whatever. If I'm in that community, I'd be like, yeah, I would never do this on Madison or on Stony. But here you go. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's just my little way of getting back. But seriously though, we see our people throw trash down in our communities all day long. I live in a very interesting piece of the world, in my personal opinion, right? Along 67th Street, right? You have the Highlands right there, just west of Jeffrey, with these $1 million mansions, and then you get to Ridgeland, East End, and it's like, yo, all of these, like, people just throw like trash, debris, violence. Okay, these 3 blocks. $1 million mansions, these 3 blocks. Nothing, there's no barrier here. There's no like great wall or nothing like that. But nobody from these 3 blocks ever ventures into those 3 blocks. And they look totally different. Completely different. Nobody who throws trash down on East End would come to Euclid and throw trash down over there. It's crazy to me how that thing works. But I say that to say that it then becomes a little bit more difficult to try and sustain some level of cleanliness when you constantly go out there and clean up. I've gone out and cleaned up plenty of different places, right? Whether it's corner 75th and Stony, because you get the bucket boys right there and all the cars pull up right there and they set the light and they throw stuff out, right? But then next day, it's like, yo, I just cleaned up every piece of trash right here. How does it look like this again? Like just overnight. And it becomes frustrating because of how we kind of respond to our own stuff.
Ray Rock says the entire city should be filthy. Littering happens everywhere, but they have people cleaning up. That's true too. But there's another conversation too.
I don't know that that's true, G.
There's another conversation too that we do have to have some accountability.
They do clean. I'm not half of it. I'm on board with half of that. They certainly pay more attention to certain neighborhoods than others in terms of street cleaning, trash pickup, all of that stuff. For sure, I'm not disputing that at all. That is 100% fact. But also, I don't know that it's true that people litter everywhere. Because I've seen people who I know good and hell well would litter on 71st and Jeffrey, and I've been with them in another place, 99th and Longwood, and they won't throw that shit out.
But to the mind shift that needs to happen too, though, right? Just like you just talked about how you got East End, you got Ridgeland, you got all that, and then you got the Highlands. And it's legitimately, you could reach your arm out and touch the differences.
We share an alley.
You share an alley. You can touch both sides of the garages and you're getting 2 different experiences.
Right.
That's a mindset, right? So one of the things about them Highlands, though, man, I was looking at properties over there not too long ago, and one of the things about that is you got to think, man, the average black family that's in them big old beautiful homes, they're dying. Those are old folks, right? And we always had these conversations about generational wealth, generational wealth, generational wealth. But what you never hear is generational power. You don't hear that. That's not part of the context of how our mind works. We don't even ask for power, right? And we're confused at thinking that wealth is power, and it's not the same thing, right? The value of wealth changes, right? That's what the conversation of inflation, that's what that means, right? The value changes, it shifts, you know what I mean? So when I was looking around at the properties in the Highlands, what I was noticing, man, and a lot of them beautiful homes, them people would die out, they would leave that shit to their children, and them children can't even afford the property taxes on them. You know what I mean? So they're getting foreclosed on, or they're getting snatched up by somebody else, and them whoever was living there had acquired some level of capital. You know what I'm saying? Because that's next level living. There's people over there in them communities with actual servants still today.
For sure.
I've been over there to some of them houses and they got servants in them.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And they die and their children cannot even pay the property taxes on them joints. So when we start thinking about, you always hear these conversations circulating about generational wealth. We better start thinking about generational power. And that's a different conversation.
It's a different conversation, but I do think that when you talk about using money as a tool to amass power, I think that is a real conversation, right?
I don't think so. Again, because 98% of the wealth in America is in the hands of white folks. So unless you're going to do some sleight of hand magical shit,
sure,
you're not gonna never be able to. You can't fight back.
So you saying it goes in reverse? The power comes before the money.
So the power is in the community. The power is in the people, right? That's the biggest resource. The people, right? And if you can get the people to align with you, you can move resources to however the fuck you want.
Agreed. I was watching this weekend. I watched the movie The Pelican Brief. You remember that movie? It's got Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts.
I couldn't speak to it though.
Sure, I feel like I've seen it a long time ago before as well, and I couldn't speak to it either. So I watched it again this weekend. And basically, what happens is they executed 2 Supreme Court justices. Right? They assassinated 2 Supreme Court justices, and the Pelican Brief was this, briefing that outlined who did it and why. Right? And ultimately, it was about this super rich oil tycoon. Right? Who had found some oil somewhere, and he wanted to be able to drill and get the oil. Well, the Supreme Court was left-leaning, if you will, at the time, right? And so they were environmentalists, I'll say that. They were more environmentally conscious, and so they're like, nah, we're not going to let you do that, right? But on the other end of him being able to do that was obviously a huge, great fortune. Now, obviously, he was already super rich, didn't really need to do this, but there was more wealth on the other end. And so he was like, yo, I'll do this, okay? I'll take all of my money, not all of it, but I'll take a lot of my money, and I will back this presidential campaign. I'll back this presidential candidate to ensure that he becomes the next president. Cool. Once he becomes the president, okay, we're then going to assassinate the 2 most environmentally friendly justices on the Supreme Court. Because now what happens? I own the president. So now what? I'm gonna pick who fills those 2 seats. Right.
I'm gonna get my money back.
I'm gonna get my money back.
It ain't happenstance that J.B. Pritzker spent how many millions of dollars to become the governor? Who makes what? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars?
It don't even make sense.
The math don't add up.
It don't even make sense to be a billionaire and say I'm gonna spend my days in Springfield, Illinois.
It's power.
You know what I'm saying? It's the power, because what else can I do after that? So they like, yeah, okay, I'm spending all this money. You're gonna be the president. Then we're gonna kill these 2 Supreme Court justices, and you are going to appoint who I want to be appointed, so that I can get this oil drilling approved. Right? All for the bread, G. Spend all this bread, get you to be the president. Assassinate 2 Supreme Court justices.
But it's not. You say all for the bread. It's not all for the bread. It's all for the power. The power is the mechanism that creates the bread. We confused about it.
Okay, you're right. I'm gonna do all this.
Right.
I'm gonna spend.
You started with saying I'm gonna spend all my money.
I'm gonna spend all my bread for the power.
So period. I don't have no value for this money.
Right.
You can have that.
I'm gonna spend my. Right. But ultimately, I'm trying to get back to the bread, though.
But I need to dominate you.
I need the power first.
I'll sacrifice this for this position.
Because this will be. This will come in abundance once I got this.
Nothing once I get this position.
Right.
That's what we don't grasp.
Right.
Right? So again, to be in the top 1% of black earners, all you need is 100,000. There's no power attached to that. But what we do is we get our high 100.
Oh yeah.
We get
and we give it right back.
The right car.
We give it right back.
And an address somewhere, and we stun on each other.
Yeah, because I can flex on you, fam.
Because you can't.
I can't flex on nobody else.
You can't stun on nobody. Nobody else in the quadrant.
I can't flex on nobody else.
Nobody.
I'm only better than you.
Only. Mm-hmm. And that's what we value. Mm-hmm. That's what we value. Or that's how we find value. And part of that is about the trauma of slavery too. Right? It's not having, it's trauma of poverty. So we find value in Jordans. We find value in cars. We find value in titles. We find value in proximity to whiteness because we're not whole internally. Because we haven't figured out what it means to be us. We ain't whole internally. So our whole makeup is based in the culture of America. Right? Mm-hmm. We the most Americans of Americans. We legitimately are. Right? So, but if you think about white culture and America being dominated and being a white supremacist society, every institution in America is dominated by white supremacist thought. What could it create and raise except for dark-skinned white supremacists? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we act as if we're part of the paradigm and we just ain't. So we on this whole other side of the paradigm with the thinking of the paradigm, the thinking of the dominant society. I.e., we're chasing value the same way they chase value.
Agreed.
But they got the luxury of chasing that value like that because they own everything. They don't have to sacrifice for the whole because they are the whole.
We good.
We good.
As is.
As is.
Right.
But the Arabs don't move like that.
Nah.
The Asians don't move like that.
Nah.
The Africans don't move like that.
Nah.
Because they're insured, they're secure in their identity. So when the African comes here from wherever they're coming from, and it's 10 of them in a 2-bedroom apartment and they all driving cabs, they got a concise goal of saying, hey man, this cab money's gonna build me a crib in Ghana that's gonna be 2 blocks long. And I'm not gonna ridicule you for having to sleep on the floor with 10 other Africans because culturally we know what it is.
Right.
Right? We know what it is. And not only do we advocate for it.
Meanwhile, us, get out of their team.
Not just get out of their team. Even if we collectively got a crib today, 10 of us, what woman would be like, man, I value how y'all moving.
Right.
Y'all got a 10-year plan to own this? Man, y'all goofies. Get your own shit.
Right.
You bum.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we have the same white supremacist kind of philosophy.
Right.
We don't understand. This is monopoly.
Right.
This is. And the goal is to get on the board.
Right.
Not stunt.
Right.
Not be the right car on the board. Right. Get on the board.
How do we get on the board?
And master the board.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
But we don't move like that.
We do not move like that, but it would certainly behoove us to begin to move like that. But again, the first thing is identity. And I think to get to that place of identity, then really the first thing will be to have to unlearn the identity that we've already assumed. Right. And it is that of white Americans. Whether I don't know how
I say it all the time, man. Ain't that many black people in America, bro. It's just a bunch of dark-skinned white people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that meets a lot of people's ear harshly.
I don't care.
But it is what it is. I said what I said, right? Like we have to unlearn this desire or this aspiration to be white Americans.
Salim said something earlier about you as a compliment to you, and I agree. He said that Herb is like a natural when we was talking about energy, and you was talking about how when you have events and all that. And I agree. You got a certain kind of energy and just energy. Shit, that's just it. People just gonna gravitate to that energy and they hear shit from you in a certain kind of way. I don't have that fucking energy. You know what I mean? I'm blunt. I don't have tact. I don't give a fuck how you feel about it. It's just kind of upfront. Now, that's the outward.
I value, before you go on, I value that in such a way, and I appreciate you instantly, and I received that, and I recognize that. I value what you do in such a way, the way you move in such a way, and I think that I'm able to because I know the level of knowledge and information that is behind it, right? It's not just this emotional thing, right? It's not just a fuck you for fuck you's sake. It is, here's the actual data, here's what's actually going on, here's how we need to move, right? I don't really have time for how you feel about it and all that, and so I value that.
But I want to focus on something. I don't see it as fuck you at all. I see it as I love you.
I didn't mean fuck you.
No, listen to what I'm saying.
Sure.
Because it is interpreted as fuck you. It is, and I know that. And I think that's ignorant.
Okay.
It's really, I love you. I love you enough to challenge you to do your goddamn best. Right? It's the conversation I have with my son. When the coach is yelling at your ass, you matter. When he stops yelling at your ass, you don't. You understand? The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. It's indifference, right? But our conditioning and our lack of identity, when people talk to you direct, because of how this shit plays out,
sure,
it creates a level of disdain. I'm so comfortable in the comfortable lie.
Yes.
Right? So when someone hits me with the harsh truth, I cringe.
I don't want that.
That's i.e. why we won't allow our lovers, our partners to challenge us. The minute the shit gets tough, we the fuck up out of there. And the only way to glory is going through the tough shit. That's part of this road. In whatever capacity you live in this life through. I don't give a shit what you want, right? You want to be a ball player? You gonna have to do some tough shit, right? You want to be an artist? You gonna have to do some. You gonna have to break the barriers of whatever your comfort level is, right? You want to be a goddamn computer programmer? You gonna have to break through some barriers. You gonna have to put up some work. The comfort is killing us, but i.e. going back to the white aspirational ideas, right? America tricks your ass into being comfortable. It tricks you into being comfortable. You can go get a $5 cup of Starbucks instead of making coffee. You don't need that. We got fast food on every goddamn corner. You don't need to cook. All that shit meanwhile is killing your ass. And if it ain't killing you, it's keeping you poor. I.e., you got to deal with some level of accountability and responsibility. But how we interpret that is in the negative. It's not in the negative. It's valuable. It's really love. But we can't see it.
I think we can't see it because we have skewed or altered this sense of comfortability, right? What does comfort actually look like, right? And I think that until we get to a space where the current circumstances that we live under, and that's everything, that's school, justice, economics, all of it, right? Until we get to a space where the outcomes that we're seeing right now is more uncomfortable than the work that we need to do to change it, I don't know that we're going to change it, because we seek comfort even more than we seek prosperity or freedom or safety, right? It's comfort, right? And it's why people will hunker down in a space as opposed to like doing the work to get away from whatever the fuck is wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's I can at least find some bit of comfort here. Like, nah, like that's gonna run out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we got to be more uncomfortable with the current set of circumstances than the daunting task ahead that is the work that needs to be done.
But I gotta ask, what possibly could be more uncomfortable? We in the greatest wealth disparity in American history, even if you include slavery.
So you know I've been asking that question for the last 5 years.
Right.
Leading into the 2016 election, I've been asking that question. How much worse can it get for us?
Look, Boosie sent me something. I don't know if I can find it right off, but Boosie sent me a stat about St. Louis black men and unemployment. Gee,
mind-boggling.
What else could be more uncomfortable?
I've been asking that.
Slavery?
I've been asking that question for a few years now too, and black people specifically meet me with responses that are based in fear. And I'm not even saying that they're so illogical, right? That I'm not saying that I haven't heard arguments to say, "Oh, this could happen or that could happen." It could, okay, but that happening versus the chance for us being successful, whatever that dynamic is, however, that is worth the risk. Man. To move from this space for me.
Look, I just said that my house is praising at 4 something. And I ain't saying that in no braggart way.
No, I understand.
I always say I'm poor. I know I'm poor. You understand me?
Be clear.
I'm very poor around here. Right? My house is appraising at 4 something. I also have a rental property in Inglewood that's praising it at over 100. I know that I gave you the top income number of the 1% is 100,000 for our community. That's to be in the 1% conduit. To be in the top 1% of black wealth in general, all you need is $350 hard. $350,000 hard puts you in the top 1% of black earners. That means me, Oprah, Jay-Z, all in the same quadrant. That's what that really means. Motherfucker, I'm poor. So if I'm uncomfortable and I'm in the top 1, what is the 99 dealing with?
Yeah, too, but you know what? You're uncomfortable in a way that may allow you to at least have your nose out of the water. And to Sadiq's point,
what I'm saying, my
what's
nose
water?
ain't out the water.
Compared to what? Compared to 18 grand a year?
I guess that's one way to look at it. I guess that's true.
You know what I mean? And I say that to say this before we get out of here. I say that to say this, that when the deeper you go into that water, the less likely you are to see or be concerned with how to move forward. And I'm only concerned with, can I tread water right here? Can I stay afloat just a little bit longer right here? And this idea of what we need to do to change the entire circumstances of the ocean is beyond me, because again, what is water?
That's real.
So we got to leave it today, man. We'll be back here on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to tune into the conversation. Your input was valued. It was certainly appreciated. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on Facebook, tuned in on YouTube. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. For Reese the Ruler, co-host of Week Hold Wednesday. Make sure y'all check that out every single Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. right here on the network. And for Toussaint Werner, my name is Herb Howard. We'll see y'all Wednesday. Be good to each other.
Assalamu alaikum.
Snoop, like that chronic, I need something stronger. Molly cute, that's like an aspirin. For my daughter, big time. In the club with a case of Ace. And now I sniff that whole table. Scarface, another court case. I'm a frequent offender. When Wyclef was hot, I was gone to November. 6 years, hard time. Bobby was fucking up, Whitney could have been mine. We would have been so high and so in love. When Amy Winehouse died, I could have saved her. I could have smoked like hell.